She died as one of the most respected women in British royal history, remembered as the queen who never broke. But behind the crown, behind the perfect smile, and behind a lifetime of duty, was a woman who lost almost everything she loved. History called her loyal, but history rarely asked what loyalty cost her. This is the untold story of Mary of Teck, the 8th Princess of Wales, a woman born into royalty, raised without wealth, chosen for duty, and forced to survive unimaginable loss. May 26, 1867. Kensington Palace, London. A child was born who would one day stand at the center of the British Empire. Her full name was Victoria Mary Augusta Louise Olga Pauline Claudine Agnes, but her family called her May. Her father, Prince Francis, Duke of Teck, had royal blood but almost no fortune. Her mother, Princess Mary Adelaide of Cambridge, was a British princess trapped by enormous debts. They lived in White Lodge, Richmond, a beautiful home with a painful reality. Money was always a problem. May wore simple dresses, learned to save what she could, and grew up understanding one harsh lesson. Being royal did not mean being free. While other royal children were raised with comfort and luxury, May was taught something far more important. She was taught that the crown came before personal feelings, before happiness, before herself. She was quiet, intelligent, and deeply shy. She loved history, collected shells, and dreamed of a simple life. But fate had other plans. Her future would not be decided by love letters or personal choices. It would be decided by palace meetings and royal duty. In 1891, everything changed. A telegram arrived. May was chosen to marry Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence, the grandson of Queen Victoria and second in line to the throne. The newspapers called it a romantic royal match. But behind the palace walls it was something else. It was an arrangement. She was suitable. She was royal. She was exactly what the monarchy needed. The wedding preparations began. Invitations were sent. The nation looked toward the future. But then, just days before everything changed forever, tragedy struck. On January 14, 1892, Prince Albert Victor died from pneumonia at only 28 years old. In a matter of hours, May went from being the future Queen of England to a woman with no future at all. The palace offered sympathy, but the world expected her to disappear quietly. Her dreams were gone. Her position was gone. Her purpose seemed gone. But the monarchy still needed an heir. Queen Victoria had another grandson, Prince George. He was younger, inexperienced, and completely different from May. Their relationship did not begin with romance. It began with necessity. The proposal was not truly a question. It was a solution. The crown needed stability. The royal line needed protection. And May accepted, not because of love, but because duty demanded it. On July 6, 1893, May married Prince George at the Chapel Royal, St. James's Palace. She was 26 years old. He was only 19. From that moment, she became more than a wife. She became his teacher, his supporter, and the person who prepared him for the weight of the throne. She taught him royal manners, public speaking, and the responsibilities of kingship. She carried the pressure silently and never complained. For the next 17 years, Mary gave everything to her role. She became a mother of 6 children: Edward, Albert, Mary, Henry, George, and John. She managed royal homes like a commander. She believed discipline created strength. But behind the strict image was a mother carrying private pain. When her youngest son John suffered from epilepsy, he was kept away from public view at Wood Farm. The world never saw his struggles. Because in the royal family, weakness was something to hide. In 1910, her husband became King George V, and Mary became queen. At that moment, the British Empire controlled a quarter of the world, with hundreds of millions of people under its rule. She stood at the heart of it all. Every photograph showed confidence. Every public appearance showed perfection. But nobody saw the weight she carried behind the crown. Then came the war that changed everything. In 1914, World War I began. Suddenly, her German family connections became a problem. Her cousin Kaiser Wilhelm was seen as an enemy, and even her own family name, Teck, carried suspicion. To protect the monarchy, the royal family transformed itself. The House of Windsor was created. Mary visited hospitals, supported soldiers, and sacrificed personal comforts for the war effort. In 1917, another devastating message arrived from Russia. Her aunt, Empress Alexandra, and her 5 cousins had been executed in a basement in Ekaterinburg. Mary read the news. She felt the loss, but she did what she had always done. She put the pain away and continued her royal duties. She opened hospitals. She smiled for cameras. She carried on, because that was the life she had chosen. The years that followed brought even more heartbreak. Her youngest son, Prince John, died at only 13 years old after years of illness. His death was announced briefly, and the public funeral was avoided. Mary mourned privately. She had lost a child, but she was still expected to remain a symbol of strength. In 1936, her husband King George V died. After decades of service, Mary became a widow at 68 years old. On his deathbed, his final concern was not himself. It was the empire. For the first time, Mary believed she might finally have a moment of peace. But peace never came. Only 10 months later, her eldest son Edward VIII shocked the world. He announced that he would give up the throne to Mary Wallace Simpson, an American woman who had been divorced twice. The government opposed it. The church opposed it. The empire was shaken. Edward chose love over the crown and walked away. For Mary, this was more than a political crisis. It was a personal wound. She had sacrificed her own desires for duty. She had buried children and continued serving. And now her son was abandoning the very institution she had spent her life protecting. To her, it was a betrayal of everything the monarchy represented. The throne passed to her second son, Albert, who became King George VI. A shy man who struggled with a stammer, he never expected to be king. Then came another nightmare. World War II. London was bombed. The palace was attacked. But Mary refused to leave. She stood beside the king and the people. She visited damaged areas, supported charities, and even gave up her jewels to help the war effort. Then came another heartbreaking telegram. In 1942, her son Prince George, Duke of Kent, died in a plane crash at only 39 years old. He had been serving on a secret mission. Mary was 75 years old. By then, she had buried 3 of her own sons. Yet the very next day, she appeared in public. She smiled. She waved. She performed her duty. In 1952, another loss arrived. King George VI died at only 56 years old. Mary was now 84. She had lost her husband, 3 children, and watched 2 kings die. Then she stood on the balcony as her young granddaughter Elizabeth became queen. She smiled. She curtsied. She showed the world that duty continued, even when the heart was exhausted. During her final year, Mary lived quietly at Marlborough House, surrounded by her antiques, dolls, and thousands of personal letters. She wrote constantly but never publicly revealed her deepest feelings. On March 24, 1953, Mary of Teck died peacefully in her sleep at the age of 85. The world remembered her as the ultimate symbol of duty. Flags were lowered, tributes were given, and then history moved on. But the question remains, what was the true cost of her devotion? Mary of Teck gave her youth, her happiness, her privacy, and 3 of her children to an institution called the Crown. She was praised for being strong, but nobody asked if she was ever allowed to be weak. She was called stable, but nobody asked how much pain it took to hold everyone else together. A lifetime of duty, a lifetime of sacrifice, and the cruelest irony of all. The son who abandoned the throne changed history forever. The son she depended on died too soon, and the granddaughter she helped guide became one of the most famous monarchs in the world. So I leave you with this question. If you gave your entire life to something, your dreams, your family, your happiness, and the only thing people remembered was that you never complained, would you call that a life of honor? Or would you call it a life that quietly disappeared behind a crown?